Hello everyone, welcome to another FanTeam video from Fantasy Football Scout. My name is Az and I am joined by the Premier League FanTeam winner 2020-21. It's Mr. Josh Wooldridge. How are you doing?
Hey Az, how's it going?
Good.
I'm good as well, thank you very much.
So we've got something a bit different today. We are moving away from the Premier League game, which we've been doing lots of videos on, and we're going to be talking about the Champions League group stage game, which is, it's something sort of completely different. It's not something either of us played last season, I believe. It actually genuinely looks really, really fun. There's some rule tweaks as well, so it's a little bit different from the Premier League game. Josh has been working hard on some different strategies and he's picked out some players, and we're going to go through all the basics of that to give you a good head start going into it. So I'm looking forward to this one, Josh, because I haven't played it either, and I'm definitely going to be making a team and entering it into this for sure.
Yeah, this is super fun for me. It feels like there's less pressure on it as well for me. So I'm really excited to play this one, to be honest. I'll put a few teams in, I think.
Yep, excellent. Right, let's go straight into it then. So the basics are this game starts on the 14th of September. It ends on the 8th of December. So it's a group stage, Champions League group stage games. So it's how long is it? 6 weeks or something? 6-7 weeks? And then it's going to move into the knockout and it'll be a new tournament and stuff. So it's not like a kind of Premier League long-term one where you have to keep doing your teams for weeks and weeks and weeks. It's a proper short-term thing that you can invest in and try and win some money on, which I really like. So at the moment, there's 439 people entered. That's obviously going to increase substantially. There's £210,000 in the prize pool, and the buy-in is currently £16 and 80 pence to join. So it's a little bit cheaper than like the Euro game, for example. And the first place prize is €50,000. Loads of other prizes as well. Second place gets 16,800. Rank 3, 12,600. All the prizes are on the screen at the moment. And you will win money as far down as if you finish 1,250th. So, just like a lot of the FanTeam games, you haven't got to come in sort of the top 10 to win money. You can win sort of fairly decent money from right the way down to the thousands. But it's really the top 10 when the prizes get really good and sort of over the 1,000 mark. It's a good prize structure, isn't it, FanTeam?
Yeah, it's the idea of hitting that dream towards the top. Obviously, like top 10 money would be like life changing or at least amazing for some people. You know what I mean? And €50,000 to be able to tell your friends that you won that on a fantasy game is like what we all dream of, really. I think.
Well, you dreamt it and lived it, Josh, and more than that as well. Yeah, still can't get over that.
Someone else's turn this year, I think, mate. To be honest.
Yeah, you can't win it again. That's just selfish. So in terms of the rules, these are the basics from the FanTeam website. So the tournament is played over multiple game weeks, obviously. It's not just one of the one-day things, it's the whole group stages. Standard fantasy scoring applies. So if you're playing the Premier League game, it's the same scoring system they have in that. A fantasy team cannot include more than 3 players. We all are aware of that rule. A maximum of 100 entries is allowed per user. Josh, no more than 100 entries?
No, not for me this time, mate. This is very much... less in my comfort zone than the Premier League game. Yeah. So it'll just be 2 or 3 from me this time, I think.
Yep. You must choose team captain. Captain scores times 2 points. We all know that. Vice captain will score 2 times. Captain doesn't play. We all know that. So this one, I think this one's a bit different, isn't it? You have 2 free transfers between each game week. You obviously have unlimited transfers going into game week 1. You can carry forward a maximum of 2 free transfers to a later game week. But this is a bit different, right? Because you get more. You can have more than just the 2 frees, I believe.
Yes, exactly. So it's up to a maximum of 4, I believe, based on the way that reads to me, I think. Normally on Champions League games, you do tend to get more transfers. So I think on the official one, it's normally 3 per week. So to have 2 and be able to carry 2 is quite a nice compromise, I think. I think that makes sense as a rule.
Yep. So you might want to... It's going to be finding that balance between wanting to make lots of moves, but also maybe looking to target, especially down the later end of the tournament, we're going to see a bit more rotation probably when, some of the bigger teams are through maybe and playing, reserve squads and stuff. You might want to be making those moves to switch out some of that. Again, it's similar to like the Euros, isn't it, with the knockout stage? We all knew the wild card was coming sort of straight away. So we had to properly plan our teams just for those sort of group stage games. And this is similar to that, but there's no other rounds to think of. It's just going to end just after that. So yeah, it's slightly different thought process and let's go into it. This is kind of the big rule change for me. There's no bench players at all. So you pick your 11 players, and if one of them misses out, you are screwed. There's no bench whatsoever. So how does that kind of affect your general play with this, Josh? You need nailed on players, right?
Well, so I think there's a bit of a subtlety to this again because it's similar to the weekly monsters. So you get the safety net again.
Okay.
So you get the 11, but you can almost target like, okay, this 3 set of players from Man City, for example, could be a good one to use. If you've got Mahrez, Grealish, and Gundogan as like a set of 3, it might be a good idea to pick the most expensive one of those, and then for whatever reason 2 of them don't play, you'll get the 3rd cheapest one, or if the first one doesn't play, you'll get the 2nd cheapest one. So there's definitely some strategy in this part of the game to take. And the same with defenders, like Chelsea defence, we're never really sure who's going to start like 100%. If you just pick one towards the top end, like one of the most expensive ones, you're guaranteed to get a Chelsea defender in some capacity. So there's definitely some strategy around this safety net feature.
For sure. So just to kind of make it good, we talked about this in the last video that we did on the weekly monster game. I didn't know this going into that. Obviously you did, which is why you're here. So essentially what you can do, and you can see on the screen, is this is the Chelsea defence, for example. So a good example here is you could pick Marcus Alonso, who's 8 million, and if he doesn't start and Chilwell does, which is going to be one of them, then you would get Chilwell coming in anyway. That's correct, right?
Perfect.
Yeah. So essentially, you can pretty much guarantee that you're gonna get a Chelsea wing back in this tournament if you just pick Alonso. So you're paying 0.5 more than Chilwell, but one of them's going to start every game. So he seems to be kind of almost a sensible one to go for. Or alternatively, you could go for Reece James, and then you're looking at getting one of Alonso or Chilwell anyway, whichever one starts. So again.
Or you could pick both Reece James and Alonso, and you're guaranteed to have the 2 wing backs for Chelsea.
Spoilers, Josh. Spoilers. I've seen your team. Your girlfriend, your girlfriend's just off the screen, but she's crawling on the floor like in that video with the things. But we can't see her, so because I've cut it on the screen, so you can tell her she doesn't need to. I'll actually just leave her. It's fine. She doesn't need to know.
No, it's all right. It's all right. We've talked about it now as well. It's fun.
Excellent. So budget of 100 million to build your squad. Are there price rises in this, Josh?
Yeah, I believe so. I mean, I didn't see anything on that rule page that you shared, but I'd imagine there's something. I'm not 100% on that actually, so we'll check that and we'll tweet it out or something. All right on that one.
Yep. If 2 teams are tied, they will share the placement for the prizes. Payout for combined ranks is divided between the 2 or more teams. It's the same. And this is what you're talking about. Safety net is enabled. All non-starting players will be replaced at the beginning of their match. There is no player. If there's a player from the same club in the same position with equal or cheaper price, closest price chosen first. I mean, that is a big rule that I don't know whether it's just me being really thick but no one I've spoken to about FanTeam is fully aware of that rule. Or they are.
Well, hopefully we can make some more people aware.
Yeah,
on this
absolutely.
But,
that's a big difference to any other fantasy game that I've seen. So
the other nuance to that is it does say starters. So you haven't got to be worried that Reece James is going to come off the bench, for example. If he doesn't start, he'll be replaced by someone else for you. So it's like you don't need to worry about players coming off the bench, basically, is the other subtlety to that.
Yep, excellent. Okay, so that's the general thing. Any kind of extra strategy tips you've got based on those rules, or any kind of tips for how you're going to approach this game, going forward? Yeah,
I've got a couple of things. So the first thing that stands out to me is the fact that you can roll 2 transfers means I'm going to be very much setting up my team for the first 2 game weeks. So putting extra emphasis on the fixtures in the first 2 game weeks. Because it could be that I try and carry 4 into week 3, for example. So it means I can do quite a bit with my team with those 4 moves, or maybe I use 2 in week 3 and try and carry even more over to week 4 when you're talking about there might be some rotation setting in. But I think definitely looking at the fixtures for the first 2 weeks as like a mini block and going from there could be a really good way of dealing with the 2 transfers thing. Also, it's a 6-week format, as you alluded to earlier, and it literally ends after 6 weeks. So you've got to be aggressive from the start, I think. I think defensive double-ups and triple-ups are to be like recommended, because I think you really do need to hit like most things in order to have a chance at the very, very top prizes at the top. So I think a Chelsea defensive double-up, as we've already spoken about a little bit, could be a great idea, for example, as one thing. And similarly like defensive-minded teams. Like Atletico could be another good one, for example.
Yep.
Because they're very, very defensive. And yeah, just looking at those fixtures really again.
Yeah. So, is there any kind of groups that you're going to avoid? Do you think? There's one particularly difficult-looking group, real group of death.
Which one is that? Is that Liverpool?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say, because I think that one's got... I mean, we're not sure what... I think Milan are in that group, right? We're not sure like what we're going to see from Milan, I don't think. But there's also some very nice groups where I seem to think like there's maybe one standout team or even like 3/4 of a standout team, you know what I mean, if you can put it like that. So I think those are the groups where you might get some really cheap, decent assets who've got like all 6 decent fixtures, really, if that makes sense. Because there's no like elite team like PSG or Bayern Munich in a few of the groups, for example.
Yeah, I mean these are the groups. So Group A is City, PSG, Leipzig, Bruges. I mean that is a really interesting group because I wouldn't like to be Club Bruges in that. That's 3.
Tough for Bruges, isn't it? That was what came to my mind as well.
3 top teams. The group you're talking about, the group of death, is the Liverpool group: Atletico, Liverpool, Porto, Milan. Really, really tough. I mean, who's going to get through in that? I mean, you'd expect Liverpool and Atletico to qualify from that, but AC Milan have made a lot of signings, a lot of good signings as well, and Porto are a top side. So yeah, really interesting. Bayern Munich, Barcelona, Benfica, and Kiev is Group F. I'm reading these in completely the wrong way, I think. And then that's Group E, and Group F is Villarreal, United, Atalanta, and Young Boys. So that looks to me like a good group for United. I mean, Atalanta are a good attacking side, but you've got to think there's going to be space for some of United's attackers in there. And I don't think Villarreal obviously won in the Europa League against them, but you'd still think especially with the signings United have made, they're going to be a better side than them. And Young Boys, I imagine, are going to be the whipping boys in that group. Whipping boys, young whipping boys.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, as you said, I've got United highlighted as a standout for their group, and also Bayern. To be honest, mate, I think they're going to destroy Barcelona. To be honest, like they've lost 3/4 of their players, so I don't think they're not the force like they look like on paper when you see the name Barcelona. I think Bayern are going to very
right. Absolutely right. I mean, losing Griezmann, replacing with like De Jong guy. He was the one that could even really make it at Newcastle, wasn't he? I understand. I mean, Depay as well. I mean, Depay's a good player, but is he really kind of like top tier, European Championship winning? I'm not so sure. So yeah, completely agree. Some of the other groups, you've got Sporting there, Dortmund, Ajax, and Besiktas in Group C. That's an interesting group. Probably going to be quite tight. None of those teams are a massive standout, I don't think.
That's one of the ones that's like a 3/4 good team because Dortmund are good. Don't get me wrong, but I really like Ajax as well. So exactly. I think this could be a group where we find some value. I think for sure.
Yep. And then you've got Group D with Inter, Real Madrid, Shakhtar Donetsk, and FC Sheriff. I can't wait to see them play. It's the first time they've had a team from their country in it. So an FC Sheriff, they've got a Sheriff's badge as their badge. I mean, everyone will be rooting for them as the underdogs, I think, in the Champions League this year. And then Group G, you got Lille, Sevilla, Salzburg, and Wolfsburg. So again, I reckon that's it's hard to call who's going to progress from that. It's really interesting Champions League draw. Some of the groups are just crazy, and then some of them are like that. I mean, you'd like to be in that group, wouldn't you? Because any of them could do well. And the final group, a tough one, I think, for Chelsea, Juventus, Zenit, and Malmo as well. Chelsea obviously favourites for that after winning it last year, but you having Juventus in the group. I mean, they have lost Ronaldo, but maybe they'd be a better team without him. They did tend to do better last year when he wasn't in the side. So yeah, really interesting. Can't wait for the Champions League to begin. And yeah, this FanTeam game gives us a chance to get a bit more enjoyment out of it and hopefully win some cash. So they're the teams and they're the groups. Josh, you have been doing your research and you've got some players for me who you think we should be considering.
Yeah, exactly. So for the purposes of this, I'm going to skip past the English teams for now because I think we largely we know a lot of those who are the good players, for example. So I thought I'd go a bit more in depth into some of the other European nations teams, starting with Ajax.
Yes.
So this is a quick one. I mean, I've just looked at the forwards for Ajax that they stand out to me. So Tadic and Haller both at 8.5. We've already talked about how decent their group is. I don't think there's a real standout team. So I think Ajax could be really good value. And I think Tadic and Haller is really close because Haller's the front man, but I think Tadic takes all the set pieces and penalties. So both at 8.5. I mean, if you take the budget, I believe it's 105 million, right?
It's 100.
Is it? But divided by 11, that comes to like almost 10 million a player. I think it's just a bit below 9 point something. So anyone who's below 9 million is in theory like a bit more of a budget pick. So even though it seems high at 8.5, I think they're like enablers a little bit. So I like those two.
Just to give a bit of context, the most expensive player in the game is Lewandowski at 14.5. Lukaku's there at 14. And then you've got Messi down there at 13.5, Ronaldo at 13. So you think about in FPL, the premium players are 12.5. These guys are more expensive, but at the same time, you don't have to worry about subs. So you've got more money in theory to build your players. So when you need to be, if you want to have like Messi and Lukaku and stuff, you need to be saving money, which is why players like Tadic and Haller are such good picks. Yep, like it. Next.
That was why I thought the budget was higher for some reason, because I forgot you don't have to pick the bench, which means like you get to put way more into the 11, which is more fun. So second team is Atalanta.
Yep. Great team to watch.
One of our friends from the Euros, Malinovsky. He's 8 million. I mean, I'm not sure I can go back there just on a psychological point of view, but he does start every game for them. 8 million is a very favourable price. Again, talking about that like quite a bit below 9.5 or whatever the average player price will be. So, he's good.
I'm getting PTSD thinking about him. Though. We bigged him up so much, didn't we? And I did, particularly on so many videos that I did for FanTeam. And he was a huge disappointment. Very upsetting.
It was when he missed that penalty. That was just the icing on the cake. I remember it was like, oh no, we've tipped him everywhere.
All my hopes died for winning any money on FanTeam with that missed penalty. Yep.
And then the other ones that have done well for them and that seem to have started every. So my data I've looked at is like just this season. So I've been looking at how the players fit in their new teams, i.e., for the last 4-ish games, like competitive games. So Ilicic and Muriel as well. I believe Ilicic is a midfield player and Muriel's a striker, I think. And they both have started all of the last 4 games for Atalanta. So I believe they could be decent picks as well, and they seem really nailed.
Yeah, and Atalanta are a very, very attacking side. So I think going for at least one of their attacking options is sensible going into this. Yeah,
I also have to flag the two wing backs at this point. Another 2 of our boys, Mailer and Gosens. I mean, like that they did us really well in the Euros. Those two did. Now Atalanta are not very good defensively, as you sort of half alluded to by saying they're very good attacking, going forward. But these boys could definitely get some attacking returns.
Now Gosens is a mid.
Oh, is he?
He is.
Is he? How much is he?
He's a 7 mil mid.
Well, at least he doesn't lose the points for all the goals they'll concede. So that might not be so bad, actually, because he is very, very attacking. And they lost. Was it Dumfries who played for Atalanta? They lost one of their wing back. They lost a wing back over the summer. So they're both nailed, is what I'm saying. Gosens and Mailer, they're both very, very nailed.
I don't think they had. Do you say Dumfries?
Yeah, he's gone to Inter anyway. It might not have been from Atalanta, to be honest, but they had like. I remember Atalanta were like the boys who had like 10-ish players from the Euros who were all like the fun picks. So they had like Malinovsky, they had Gosens, they've got Toloi, who's like was in the Italy squad. He was really good, and then obviously Mailer and a few others, I think. So yeah,
he was at PSV. Dumfries.
Okay. Yeah, so Gosens and Mailer are nailed, is what I'm saying, because they're the only 2 wing backs basically. So, and plus they did so well at the Euros. They're such good players. I mean, Mailer scored again last night, didn't he, for Denmark? I believe, against Scotland.
He's incredible, isn't he?
He plays like in the number 10 half the time. I don't know how he plays there, but he's just like so attacking. It's amazing. So I think Atalanta have got some decent options going forward. I wouldn't necessarily back their defence for the defensive returns, but again, Mailer could still get some attacking returns. So he's not completely off the table, I don't think.
Yep.
Atletico, now these are fun, I think. They're in a tough group, as you said, with Liverpool and Milan as well. But I think they've got a couple of really like decently priced players. So this guy Correa has been scoring goals for fun so far this season. He's 10 million. He's quite expensive. So Correa, his name is. And he's either a midfielder or a forward. Is he a forward, right?
He's a mid.
He's a midfielder at 10 million.
Mm-hmm.
And they've got loads of midfielders that will like cover the safety net because he's at the top, isn't he? He's the most expensive one, yeah. And then also, I really like Thomas Lemar at 8.5, actually, because he's been starting a lot of games as well. He started every game this season as well. So those two are good. And then Black at 7.5 seems really cheap for a team that are so good defensively. Like they've been, and he makes a lot of saves. Like he's a bit of a save machine as well. So he could get everything, I think, on this game. So he's one to watch definitely.
Yeah, great shout.
And then I'd recommend pairing him with one of the defenders, and it could be any of them really, because you've got the safety net as well. So just pick one and know you're getting a defender from a really good team. You know what I mean, such as Atletico.
Yep. Excellent.
So I think that could be a really nice strategy.
Excellent picks.
Moving on to Barcelona. Now, this is going to be very quick because I believe there's only one pick, to be honest, and he's Memphis Depay, of course. I think he is just fantastic enough on his own to just maybe be able to be a good asset just as the talisman of Barcelona. I wouldn't go near the others at this point because I'm just not sure whether it's all going to chop and change with Barcelona, whether they're going to try different formations or different players because of how many they've lost. But we know Memphis Depay is going to start and he's going to be right at the front of the attack, isn't he? So 10.5, what do you think about that price?
Yeah, I mean, I love Depay. Is he going to have the complete monopoly of set pieces that we saw him have for Netherlands in the Euros? I mean, there's no Messi now, obviously, so they're going to need to kind of spread these out more across the team, and the goals are going to be more shared and stuff. So I think it is almost falling on him now to be the kind of talisman of Barcelona, which is crazy, right? Because the step up he's made since he left United, you know, going to the Euros, being the figurehead for the Netherlands, and now being kind of the central player for Barcelona is a crazy sort of up-turning form. But I mean, looking at the rest of the squad, I mean, who else is there? I mean, they've got Dembele, Coutinho, De Jong. They've got like Busquets still hanging around. Forward line, they've got Aguero, Braithwaite. We don't know if they're going to play. Like, who of those players really stands out as being the guy that's going to make stuff happen for them? It's got to be Depay. So I agree. I think he's the one, if you're going to grab a Barcelona player, that he's the one to get.
That's the thing. You have to look at it two ways. Are they just going to be so rubbish that even their best player's not going to score well? Or is he going to just do everything? In which case he's an amazing asset if he gets, say, 4 goals. I mean, you'll be like that. You'd take that over 6 games. Obviously, that'd be amazing. So I presume he'll be on penalties. I think he will if Aguero's not playing, especially.
Yeah, it must be.
Aguero's very injured, isn't he, by the sounds of it? It sounds like they've had a disaster with that transfer, to be honest, considering it's like blocked Messi and Griezmann. Like, I mean, it just seems like it's a disaster to me. But
Atletico as well, buying Griezmann when they could have bought him at the start of the window and they probably would have been able to keep Messi because of the wages. And they've waited until right on the last day and then swooped in. Now Barcelona just got no one. It's a complete and utter disaster what's going on at that club.
It's genius from Atletico, though, isn't it? They've had an absolute great transfer window again.
Massively.
Griezmann could become a factor for Atletico.
Yeah.
I forgot to mention that. Yeah. I mean, he's a little bit expensive, I think, because they priced him as if he was at Barcelona. But I don't think that hurts him, to be honest, in this scenario. I think he's just as likely to do well at Atletico as he would at Barcelona, I think. Do you?
I think he'd do better.
Yeah.
I can't see why he wouldn't. He knows the club. He's been a key figure than before. And Barcelona, to me, I mean, it'd be interesting to know what happens with Coutinho, because, I mean, for all accounts, they were trying to offload him but couldn't. But I still rate him so highly. And whether he can start to kind of rebuild his reputation there and well, I mean, I don't even know if it's really his reputation. It's just kind of how Barcelona have used him, or rather not used him. I mean, when they shipped him out on loan, he scored against them for Bayern. It was probably one of the funniest things I've ever seen in football. But yeah, I've got high hopes for him. I don't think I'd start with him, especially not in a format like this. But yeah, hoping that we can start seeing some good performances from him. But yeah, Griezmann for sure. I think going back to Atletico, how much is he on this? Is he? Because you mentioned Correa.
I think he's still listed under Barcelona. Is he?
No, he's at Atletico, but he's 11.
Oh, okay.
So he's more expensive than Suarez and Felix, for example.
So yeah, you get the safety net there anyway, but he's going to play anyway, isn't he? So I think it's not a problem. Like they've spent 40 million, so he'll play, I think. And they love him at Atletico. Like they didn't want him to leave.
No,
in the first
absolutely.
place.
El Decision.
Right. Let's go on to Bayern Munich. This one's like obviously towards the more premium end of the players for this club because they're one of the best teams in the world. So I think there's just 3 names that stand out. So I think the front 4 they'll play is Muller in the middle as like a number 10, and then they'll play Sane and I've gone blank, Gnabry either side, and then Lewandowski up top will be the front 4. I think that's what they've tended to play in all their like serious games, I'm going to put in inverted commas, like this season so far. And to me, that's the best front four anyway. So
Yep.
based on that, I think those four are all in play. I mean, Lewandowski, 14 million. Is it 14 or 14 and a half?
14 and a half.
I'm not sure if I can bring myself to pay that much, but he is just one of the biggest goal scoring machines we've ever seen in like the Champions League and all formats, to be honest. So what do you think about his price? Do you think it's justifiable with the group they've got?
Well, he's the best striker in the world, gets, best goal record, I'd say, other than kind of Ronaldo and Messi. I mean, the thing is, you won't be able to get Ronaldo and Messi and Lewandowski, so you're probably picking maybe two of them at most, and the other two are cheaper. I mean, Messi at PSG, I do like the look of. Obviously, the group is harder. It's hard to look past Ronaldo, I think.
I completely agree with that. I think Ronaldo for 1.5 cheaper is probably my premium asset of choice, just because the group they've got, I mean, granted, Bayern have also got a very, very nice group in my opinion, but I think Ronaldo at United, he's already the Champions League all-time top goal scorer, right? And he's just going to want to increase his lead, I think, at the top. So he's almost uncatchable in future years. So
very, very good point from Neil Thompson in the chat. No safety net with Lewandowski because he's the only striker on the game.
Yeah.
So if he doesn't start, if he gets a rest later on in the tournament, you're not going to get anyone. You're going to have 14.5 wasted.
I think that's what I looked at actually because I've just considered that I'm probably going to fade him, I think, and I think Gnabry and Muller are much more reasonable for like 12 and 11 and a half for those two. Plus, if you pick Gnabry, as Neil mentioned, you've got a safety net of like 8-9 players.
Yeah.
So you're going to get someone on, and if you get in a Bayern Munich midfielder, it's going to be a good pick anyway.
So if you pick Gnabry and he doesn't start, you get Muller, for example, if he does. But what if Gnabry came off the bench and scored?
It's only based on starts in the rules. It definitely says that. It says if they don't start, they will be replaced by the next most expensive player who starts. So you don't need to worry about coming off the bench, which is great because you want the guy who's going to start. Obviously,
but say you pick Gnabry and he came on and scored a hat trick, but he didn't start.
You wouldn't get his points.
You wouldn't get his points, but no one would.
No one would. No one could possibly get Gnabry in that scenario because the way that the auto replacement works. Okay. So it's annoying, and that has happened to me before where I've picked a player, he's been benched, and then like the guy who started played 90 and done nothing, and then the guys came off the bench and scored a couple.
Cool. Yeah.
But you can't do anything about it, unfortunately. And to be fair, I prefer this rule from FanTeam. I think
it's better to make sure you've got starters in your.
You get a starter. Yeah, it gives you more chance at the points. It doesn't always work out, but most of the time it will. So. Yeah. Gnabry and Muller. I mean, Muller in the 10 at 11.5 feels great considering he's also got a really long safety net as well below him. But Gnabry, I mean, I did see him at West Brom back in the day and he didn't look much good then. But
Tony Pulis wasn't convinced.
He's improved quite a lot since then. I'll give him that, to be fair. Jeez, I was one of the people. I defend Tony Pulis on that one. He wasn't up for it at West Brom. He was not running. He didn't want to play for us. He thought he was better than West Brom. So I defend the fact that he didn't play him. But I mean, oh my God, what a talented player he is now. Oh my God.
Poor Euros for him, to be fair.
Yeah, he did. And that was another thing that cost me quite a bit of money during the Euros. I think I had so much of him. Yeah, like I just thought striker for Germany as a midfielder, let's go. But not to be. But on this game, I think he could do a lot of damage. I mean, I saw Bayern won 12-0 the other day in the first round of the German Cup. I mean, it could have been more as well. Literally, they're just so good and they're so ruthless. So I think we could see like 1 or 2 games where they really do like put their foot on the gas and score 5-6 goals or something.
Yeah, I mean, Dynamo Kiev, for example, are there.
You want one of their attackers, don't you? If you think they're gonna do that, so that's something to know. Benfica, they're the next team. A bit of a weird one here. Like the team, as I've noted in my notes very eloquently, is all over the place. So I mean, I'm seeing like a different team put out every week for this team, but the one who seems to play every week is Yaremchuk, our Ukrainian hero from the Euros again. Scored
a great goal, didn't he, in the qualifiers?
They were touting it for like goal of the qualifiers or something. Like so. I think he looks like he's up for it. I mean, he hasn't scored many this season so far, but he's definitely their talisman and he's played every game. So he looks good for 90-minute bonus as well, actually. So he could be a really good pick. Again, he's veering on that like budgety sort of area of price as well, isn't he? So I think he could be good. Going on to Dortmund, who I think are a really, really good team still, and they've actually signed some decent players, I think. Reina stands out to me actually as an 8 million midfielder. So he's pretty nailed. He's played every game so far this season again. 8 million. He gets quite a few attacking returns as well. So he could be a really astute little 8 million pick, I think.
Nice. Yep.
And then you've
Good
got
price.
the Marlon and Royce as well, who are like 11 and 10.5. So you could pick one of those and have the safety net of the other one in theory as well. Like, I mean, Marlon played really well for Netherlands in the Euros as well. And Royce has been like a Dortmund hero for many years, hasn't he? So
Both forwards.
Yeah. So you've got the safety net of 11, 10.5. I mean, the only thing is, would you use a forward slot on those? Or would you go for Haaland? You know what I mean? Would you just go straight up to Haaland? But yeah, I think Rayner's my favourite, probably at 8 million. I think it's it's a bit of an enabler again, as I've talked about before.
Looking at Dortmund's group, I think I'd be going with Ronaldo and Haaland up front. With Sporting, Dortmund, Ajax, and Besiktas, you got to think Haaland's going to hit quite a few goals across those matches. So we talk about Lewandowski. I'd prefer Haaland, I think. But yeah, 13.5 isn't cheap again.
He is a goal scoring machine, though, isn't he? And he's like Lewandowski. Like they just score the goals like that. I think for Norway, last night they played, didn't they? I think he didn't complete a pass in the first half, but he still scored a goal in the first half. I mean, that just epitomises that he's just a goal scorer.
Absolutely,
you know what I mean?
Insane.
And
yeah,
that's all we're bothered about on fantasy, though. We just want the goals to keep going in. You know what I mean?
Imagine how many goals he'd get at Man City, because they're surely going to get him in the next transfer window or in the summer. He's gonna go absolutely berserk with the creativity there, with the creativity around him. Yeah, exciting.
I think there's a good number of players. We were thinking the same about Harry Kane, weren't we? We were thinking, imagine if he's in that team. I mean, he could easily get to 40 goals in that team, genuinely. And Haaland's in the same ilk as Harry Kane, without a doubt. So, yeah, I think we could see like if they're nailed. So that's the only caveat. If they're going to play every single game, I think we could see like a Man City forward getting 35, 40 goals in the league next year, and that's a genuine possibility, I think. Because I think it is just that step above from having it at Liverpool, where there's potentially 3 or 4 different goal scorers. I think at City that's still the case, but they do score like 5 and 6 like worryingly often. So if you've got that happening, you've got to think the central striker will be getting 2 or 3 on occasions. You know what I mean, in games. So I think it could be like, if they're going to play every game. I think
Aguero would have got close to 30 goals. I think if he'd not had the injuries that he had sort of in those last few years, because he was kind of that similar. Pep kind of moulded him into someone who did drop back a bit and stuff, but he was still that kind of central figure. They were all looking to get the ball to him, and he would go on an amazing run and then be injured for a few weeks and then not quite back to full fitness. If they could just get like someone like Haaland or Kane who could stay fit for a whole season and just stick the goals in, 30 goals should be definitely the target.
Yeah, we've gone a bit off piste. I've got a man called Edin Dzeko to get us back on track. So he's gone to Inter, I believe, and he's been playing every game up front again. And he's just a goal scorer again, but this time he's 8.5, which seems like a great price for Dzeko, to be honest. Who's a really reliable goal scorer. I've also noted their midfielders at Inter. This is for Inter, by the way. So we've skipped a few teams. The guy from Turkey, Kalhanoglu or whatever his name is.
Very good. Yep.
He's 9 million. Again, you've got the safety net of Perisic and Barella underneath. They're quite a bit underneath Barella is for one, but Perisic is 8.5 and Barella's 8. Now, I love Barella, and Perisic also had a really, really good Euros for Croatia. So I think these 3 players are like pretty decent picks if you land on like this price point needing for your 11th player, if that makes sense. I think they're all decent options at 9, 8, 8.5 and 8 respectively.
Yep, very nice.
And Inter are in a kind of all right group, I think. I think there's one good team. Are they in with Madrid, are they?
Madrid,
they're in with Madrid.
And our boys, Sheriff.
Yeah, I think you really do. I don't want to say it, but I think Sheriff could be very much whipping boys.
Oh, they're going to get absolutely crushed, but
it's really sad to say. I want to support them, you know what I mean? I really want to support them, but I think you've got to look at those games whenever Inter or Real play them and think, that could be a big scoreline of a game. That's
your captains, isn't it, against them? And I'd say for United players against Young Boys as well, or Atlanta players against Young Boys. I think Young Boys and Sheriff for me are the teams that should be the whipping boys. Maybe they won't be. Maybe they're going to surprise everyone and put up some feathers, but you've got to target the fixtures, right?
I think Dzeko could do really well. Like I said, he's just a bit of a goal scorer. He could get I don't think it's unreasonable to think he might get a brace in that game against Sheriff, for example, in which case he becomes unbelievable value. You know what I mean? So
Yep.
At 8.5. Juventus, going on to them, I think for me, it's just Dybala at this point who seems really nailed. Now, Chiesa's obviously very good as well. He's a 9 million midfielder. I think he's really good.
Yep.
Dybala's 10. You get a really nice safety net under him as well on Dybala. Who is it? There's a 9.5 for Juve. Is that right?
Sorry, who's that?
For Juventus, underneath Dybala for the striker.
Oh, sorry. Dybala is Keane. Moise Keane.
Moise Keane. Is there another 10 million for them? They do have another striker, right?
They've got Morata at 10.5.
Morata.
Dybala at 10 and then Keane at 9.5.
Yeah, so Morata's above, so that's quite annoying. But Dybala is fully nailed, and he's going to be like the thing they build the team around now, I think, as well. Now Ronaldo's gone. So I'm really happy with him at 10 million. Juventus is still a very, very good team on paper, even without the talisman or whatever you want to call him. And as you said, they might play more like a team now. We might see more of a team at Juventus rather than it all just being about one man, which could benefit them, couldn't it?
Yeah, I mean, one of my friends is a massive Juve fan, and he says that the matches he watched, okay, Ronaldo got 29 goals, but the games he watched when he wasn't in the team, Juventus played better football. So he's actually not worried about losing Ronaldo at all. Thinks that other players are going to step up and there'll be exactly like you said, there'll be more of a team.
They've got plenty of talented players. I mean, I'm not worried about them at this point, and they're in a pretty decent group as well. I think are they in with just one other good team? I think, and then
they're in with Chelsea, Zenit,
Malmo, and Zenit. Yeah. So again, Malmo, like that could be a fixture to target. I think they're from Sweden, right? I think. Yeah.
Malmo, yeah.
Yeah. So like, there is a gulfing class between like the Italian and the Italian league and the Swedish league. So it could be that Juventus fancy that as a game where they can score quite a few goals.
Tom D asks, how does safety net work with equally valued players?
So good question, Tom. That is based on form, which obviously isn't relevant for week one, but the highest player who has the highest form goes at the top of the safety net. And then the player with the worst form will go at the bottom of the safety net. So if there's 3 8 million players and one scores in week one blanks and one gets like an assist or something, then the one who scores will be top, the one who assists will be second, and the one who blanks will be third on the safety net order. So
there you go.
So it's good to pick informed players as well because they've got more of a safety net in theory on that basis. But and I have noticed there are quite a few equally priced players. Like for set teams, when I looked at Chelsea and City in depth, for example, they've got a lot of equally priced players across all the positions, which means the form will very much come into it at certain times, depending on who you get for the safety net.
Yep, very good.
Yeah. Moving on to Leipzig. Now, these are really fun because they're in a really hard group, but they've been priced accordingly. So they've been massively priced down, I'd say. They're obviously in the death group with it. Is it City and PSG?
Yeah.
That's it's horrible group.
Such a tough group. Yeah.
Now, City have definitely improved defensively from like the team of 2 years ago that I associate with being a shambles at the back, but they have definitely improved, and they do keep the ball so much that like they don't have to be that good defensively anyway. So it is really tough to go with the Leipzig pick, I think, but I think 3 that are reasonably priced and could get you a few attacking returns are Silva, the striker, 8.5. He's completely nailed up front. He's played every single game, and I think he's played 90 a lot as well. And then you've got Nkunku and our boy Forsberg from the Euros. So they're both 8 million, and they are very good, Leipzig have. Now, they haven't had a good start this season in the league, but they are a very good team. So whilst I think they're a reluctant avoid on this, I do think they're quite well priced, and they could cause an upset definitely in one of those games because they are still a very good team in their own right.
Yep, very good.
Milan. Now I've just pointed out one price here because I think it's absolutely cheap as anything. Olivier Giroud is a 7.5 million striker. Now he's been starting every game for Milan and he's been scoring a lot of goals. I think he's got 4 in his last 3 in this season.
Wow.
So he's very much started the season, hit the ground running.
Zlatan and Giroud up front. What a great strike force.
It's fun, isn't it? Yeah. Yeah, they're definitely not they're not young spring chickens, are they? But at 7.5, I think he's worth the risk, to be honest, at that price, because we know him as a guy who comes off the bench and can score goals off the bench as well. So even if you hit that worst case because he doesn't have really a safety net on this. But if he doesn't start, he could be great off the bench anyway. But I do think he's very much going to start with the form he's in at the start of the season.
So if Giroud didn't start, but neither did Rebic or Pellegrini, and then Giroud came off the bench and scored, you would get his points. Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because that's the one thing I was like, oh, I really want to pick Giroud, but he doesn't have a good safety net because, in theory, I think they're either going to go with Zlatan up top or him up top. Basically, I doubt they'll play together. They just don't seem like a fit together. But I think Giroud gets the nod, honestly, at this point. And Zlatan is very, very old, as you've alluded to. So will he keep starting forever? I'm not 100%. So.
Yep.
Yeah. Porto, I've just got... They've got two strikers who tend to play every game, but I've picked out Taremi at 8 million. I think he's just 0.5 cheaper than the other striker.
Yep.
Martinez. And he's playing very forward. What did you say, sorry?
Martinez.
Yeah, Martinez, yeah. He's the other striker. Taremi at 8 million just seems a good pick to me. Again, he started every game this season so far, so he started all 4 or 5 games for Porto this season. And 8 million, it feels like a really nice enabler price as well. Going on to PSG now. Here's a fun team. Who the hell do you pick out of these? Because Mbappe's been the one who's in form at the moment, but is he going to drop off because of Messi, or are they just going to run riot? And this isn't even talking about when Neymar gets back. What are they going to do, Az?
Do you go with any of them? That's the question, because it's a tough group, and you've got to think the points are going to be split across the 3 of them.
Well, the one I like is Wijnaldum at 8 again, because he's playing the furthest advance of the midfield 3 for PSG as well, because he's playing with Verratti and I believe it's Idrissa Gueye, right? He plays for them.
Yep.
So that he's the furthest forward of the midfield 3 now. Will he do anything? Because will the front 3 just do everything between them? And does it matter who's the most attacking of the midfield 3? Worries me a little bit. But Wijnaldum's 8 million. That's like a 5.5 million saving on the attackers.
Yeah.
So I think it might be worth a punt for me.
I like it a lot. Yeah, I think he'd probably be the one that I'd go for. I'm just not sure which one I'd get, and that worries me when you don't even know which one is because there's no standout pick. It's kind of like you're paying 13.5 million for one of these players. You're not even guaranteed that they're gonna. I mean, any of them could get a hat trick. I guess you're buying a ticket. So maybe if you're doing multiple teams, you have one with Messi, one with Neymar, one with Mbappe. And that's the beauty of this fan team game. But if you're just doing one team, then it's hard to know which one to grab.
PSG remind me of France in the Euros, actually, with Benzema, Griezmann and Mbappe. Like, I'm just like, who's going to get the points? I have absolutely no idea.
It was Benzema in the end, wasn't it, who did the best? But it could have been anybody.
And he was the cheapest as well, by quite a bit. So that's always a good thing. And Wijnaldum, like, you've got to think he'll get the win bonus quite a lot for PSG. He plays 90 minutes, which is really good as well. So that's great for FanTeam. We don't need to, like, forget about the bread and butter of FanTeam, like, which is like the 90-minute points as well as the attacking returns.
Yep.
So I think Wijnaldum could score really well for 8 million.
Very good.
Real Madrid, again, they seem a little bit all over the place at this point, but Bale and Hazard have started. Hazard started 3 of the 4 games this year, and Bale started all 4. Now that's really interesting to me. So it seems like they're very much back at the forefront of this team. They have lost some players, and I worry: are they just having like a bit of a stagnant season till Mbappe signs next summer? But Gareth Bale at 11 million, if he's going to start every game for Real Madrid, again they've got a pretty favourable group. And for Bale, you get the safety net of Vinicius as well, who's been scoring goals for fun off the bench this season so far. So I don't think that's a bad option to have either. So Bale 11 with Vinicius at 10.5 is the safety net.
I really like both. If this was FIFA with Benzema, Hazard, and Bale, you'd be so confident of winning matches. It's just so weird that they're just not. Haven't got that much confidence in them because of injuries and form and fitness and all this kind of stuff. How much is Benzema? Benzema's probably 12, 13 and a half. Bloody hell. He's
too much. That's what I was about to say. So
he is pricey.
Benzema is too much in the same way that the PSG guys are too much, but for a different reason. Because when you compare Benzema to Haaland and Ronaldo, I think you just can't pick him. I think you have to pick Haaland and Ronaldo at the same price. So yeah, that's my thoughts on it anyway. So, but I do think Bale at 11 is much more reasonably priced. I think that's like an easier way in, I think, to this team, this attack.
Absolutely. Yep.
Shakhtar Donetsk, I have put in brackets fun because again, they just tend to change the team all the time, and they're just like the three playing off the striker all seem to change every game, but the striker has not changed in pre-season, so I'm very confident he's going to play actually. So his name is El Traore.
Yep.
And he's 7.5 and he's on penalties, which is really good. He's also got 90 minutes in his locker as well. So he's definitely the standout pick for these, as I said, because I just am not trusting who else is going to start for them in the midfield area, to be honest. And 7.5 is almost as cheap as it gets on this game, same as Giroud. So I don't know. Would you just take the safer pick of Giroud at the same price? Probably, but Traore is an alternative, and he is going to play every game.
And you've got the safety net because he's the top one, and you'll get whoever else starts if he doesn't start. Yeah, I like him as a pick actually. And I was a minute ago I was trying to look up who Sheriff have got in the first game, and it's Shakhtar. So I think going with him, the definitely the starting striker against probably the worst team in the whole group makes sense to me.
Yeah, and the penalties is a big thing. It might only equate to 1 or 2 penalties over a 6-game tournament, but if you can hit the top end of that and hit the 2 penalties, he's already hit his value, to be honest, just on penalties alone. So, and then you've got like outfield attacking returns as well. But yeah, it is quite a tough group for them still. But the Sheriff game first up probably sways it, doesn't it? That he might be a decent pick, I think.
Yep, absolutely. Good shout.
Going on to Sporting Lisbon, they're in that really open group, I think, with Dortmund and Ajax and another team that I've forgotten. But they're in that group. So again, they could be like a source of a bit of value, I think, because in theory, in that group, it's a very competitive one, isn't it? It feels like they could all, in theory, qualify if only in second, but they could all qualify, I think. So Sporting have got a few options. His name is Gonçalves, but they've spelt it Gonçalves on the game because I believe they don't have the C with the the number 5 underneath. Yeah. So his name's Gonçalves according to FanTeam, and he's 8 million midfielder. Again, he's at the top of all the midfielders, so he's got all the safety net under him, I believe. Him and Paulinho, who's the most expensive striker, I think, have played every game in pre-season for Sporting. So they're both completely nailed, and if not, they've got a safety net underneath them anyway. So they stand out as the 2 picks from Sporting for me.
Yep, excellent.
And they're in, as I alluded to before, they're in the wide open group. So I think you can almost pick them and keep them for 6 games, maybe if you absolutely had to, because you're never going to look at a fixture and think, oh, they can't score against that because it's against Chelsea or something. You know what I mean? I think every game
any
is
of them
like
could qualify from that group.
competitive for them. Yeah, exactly. Villarreal, we're going very much towards the end here now, so there's not too much longer, guys, I promise. But
it's all. I mean, we've done research here, Josh. Great stuff.
Yeah. So we've got our boy Gerard Moreno from the Euros, the Spain guy who I think he missed a penalty or something.
Really rate that guy.
Yeah, he's a great player. He is. So he's played 90 minutes in all 4 games for Villarreal this season. He is their talisman to a T, literally. He's on penalties and he's 8.5 million. They could sneak second in their group, I think, with Man United. They obviously won the Europa League last year, didn't they? So they're obviously a good team, and they're
between
in
them
with
and Atalanta. Yeah,
they're going to be scrapping for set. Well, it could just be that it's 2 from 3 in that group, because I don't put United past banana skinning against one of these teams.
No, absolutely.
But they're both very good teams in their own right, and United lost to Villarreal just in the summer, as you correctly alluded to. So. I fancy young boys to be the whipping boys, who, as you said, Man United play first. So that could be really good for Ronaldo. But that means Villarreal are playing Atlanta, in which could be a really open game of football, I think. So Moreno at 8.5, and again, he gets the 90-minute bonus. He could be a really, really good pick, I think.
There's a good soundbite there of you saying you fancy young boys, by the way. But
don't clip that. No clipping, guys. Okay, no clipping. Yeah. So, and then finally, Wolfsburg, for me, again, they've just got 1 pick, and it's Weghorst, who, again, played for Netherlands in the Euros, I believe.
Yeah.
He's a 90-minute man. He's played 90 minutes every game this season. So, again, he seems to be a talisman up front for them, and he's 9 million. So, I think he could be okay as well, depending on the fixtures.
Lots of good strikers. And, I think it's basically guaranteed that you need to play with 3 up front, right, from all the players that you've mentioned. And I think
absolutely.
And I think because a lot of the time these teams are going to be playing with 1 striker, and you have the safety net of the others. So yeah, three strikers to me is it looks a lock on any teams I enter into this.
I think from that point of view that you've just said, I think any time where I've listed both midfielders and strikers from a team, I'm probably going to lean towards the midfielders, just because there's some teams who, in my opinion, only have strikers as decent assets. So I think, for example, where I've gone Malinowski for Atalanta, I'd probably have to lean with him over Muriel, who's a striker, for example. And the same with like Thomas Lemar for Atletico at 8.5 million mid. I'll probably side with him maybe. So yeah, I think that's something to take away, that 4-3-4-3 or 4-3-3 are probably the best formations on this.
Yeah.
The only other thing I'll say is I think it might be necessary, weirdly, to play 4 at the back on this. Not 100%, because we've got a lot of enablers here that we've just listed, but there is quite a bit of value in defence. Like a lot of these guys are 8.5. Azpilicueta is only 7, for example. Now, that's a great way into the Chelsea defence, isn't it? So, like, is that better value than having like a 5th midfielder or a 4th midfielder, I should say? Sorry. So that's definitely something to weigh up, I think.
Nice. I'm very impressed, Josh. You've done a lot of work into this. It's helped me. I mean, it's helped me that I'm going to be putting my team together. Let's have a look at the team that you put together and sent over to me. So you've gone for Ederson in goal, Cancelo, James, and Alonso, and then you've got Grealish, Renya, Gnabry, Lamar, Haller, Ronaldo, and Giroud. So yeah, a lot of the players that you've talked about, obviously in this team, and then a couple of the English players, well, players who play for English sides in there as well. Ederson at 7.5 seems a bit of a steal, but the other one was the Atletico Madrid goalkeeper, right? Same price.
Yeah, or Black as well. That's the one. That's a big decision I'm weighing up, actually, whether to double the Man City defence in that way or double Atletico defence. I think I could go either way, and that might be a benefit to entering 2 or 3 teams.
Yep.
But I can't resist picking Man City players when you get this safety net, because the only reason we don't pick them on normal formats of games is because we don't know if they're nailed or not.
Yeah.
That's sort of wiped out by this rule of the safety net, isn't it? So picking Grealish, you get pretty much every other Man City mid under him. So I think you get the likes of, it's not Mahrez, but you get Torres under him, you get Phil Foden under him, you get Gundogan under him. So like, he just seems like a really nice pick.
Yeah,
Plus, I think he will just play anyway. So you get that bonus, and hopefully they can do one of their things where they score 5 or something and they all get returns or something. So.
We should start a petition to bring this in for FPL, just for Man City.
We need it.
Just for Man City. If you have a Man City player on your team, you get a safety net of any of the other ones. That'd be good.
It should be a rule just for them, exactly as you said, and maybe Chelsea defenders as well, because it's all over the place with that defence sometimes. Yeah. I just don't know who's going to
I really like the Alonso and James double up here, because you're just completely covered from, they either start or you get another player in. So yeah, I think that's a great double up, those two.
It's actually a little bit annoying that Azpilicueta is quite a bit cheaper, because you'll never get him on the safety net, really, even though he'd be my second choice for James, because I'd imagine Aspi will play right wing back if James isn't playing, or maybe they play Hudson-Odoi. But like, I think I would want Azpilicueta underneath, but that's just a minor thing. And to be honest, I think one of James and Alonso is likely to start each and every game in the Champions League. So I think we should only need like one auto sub, which might be Chilwell, hasn't it? So we might be all right, I think.
Yeah. Right, Josh, very, very nice. For people watching to this, make sure you subscribe to the channel for more things like this. We'll be coming back to the Premier League again next week. Just quickly, Mark, our City only have Jesus as striker who comes in as safety net. No one would come in, so don't pick him. Probably because he's going to be what I like to call poo, so out of position but the wrong way round. And yeah, you won't get anyone, so yeah, don't pick him. But yeah, thanks everyone for watching. We'll be back next week, the Premier League stuff. Like and subscribe. And if you want to help us out even more, obviously new channel dedicated, you can retweet any of the promotions that go out for this on Twitter. But Josh, thank you so much, and for all the research you've done. You've carried us through this one, like, to be fair, you normally do with these. But yeah, I will see you next week.
See you next